Good evening and a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us wherever you may be. It's the Oz Cro Soccer Show, and my name is Tonchi Prusats, and joining me as he does each week, Josip Zilic. Good afternoon or good evening, Josip. Oh, we had a few little off-air hiccups there. Well, actually, I had the off-air hiccups, but I think everything is good now. Mate, how are you? How's things with you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. It's been an interesting week over here in the Goldie since the weekend. It hasn't stopped raining, so looks like it's here for another week, mate. It's either the most beautiful weather in the world for a week, or it's absolutely bucketing down. So yeah, this week it's the bucketing down version.
It's
But
the bucketing
weather
down
aside,
version.
weather aside, all things are good, mate. And the world of football carries on, and there's so much to get through tonight.
Absolutely, mate. What is on the show tonight? Give viewers a little bit of a taste test of what's to come tonight.
Oh, look, as we do a wrap around the country. We'll put a little bit more emphasis on the female participants this week, Tonch.
Yeah.
Be it that it's Female Football Week, and
Football week,
let's put some extra focus there. I know that we can sometimes get carried away with the men's results, and that's because a lot of the media attention tends to go that way too. But yes, let's put the focus in the female area. And also, we have the privilege of speaking to a young up-and-coming star from Sydney FC, young Adrian Segacich, who just recently penned a 3-year deal. So we'll have a chat as we have throughout this year, like having a chat with these young men about their journeys, what sort of initiated their flavour, their taste for football, and how they ended up where they are now, and what they want to do with their lives. And then, Tunch, we turn to an old dear friend of yours from the journo side of the world.
Yes.
In Croatia, Eugene Brcic Jones.
Yeah, an ex-Sydney sider. For those of you going way back, you'll probably remember Eugene writing a lot of things in the old, now defunct Croatian magazine. Eugene has covered several World Cups, I think, and covered the Croatian national team for a variety of international press agencies and what you're not, as well as in Croatia. He has called Croatia home along with his young family for the better part of the last 25, 30 odd years. And he'll be coming to us live from Zagreb. He'll be giving us all the lowdown with what is expected to be not expected to be, it is a super climactic finish to the Hrvatska Nogometna Liga, but not just the Prva Liga, the First Division, also the Second Division. It's neck and neck, and he'll tell us all about the atmosphere, the feeling on the ground, and we'll talk a little bit about an interesting article during the week that popped up and actually said something along the lines of Croatia is one of the biggest exporters of footballing talent. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. That was an article in the Croatia Week. But mate, we've got a heap to get through. Let's take a quick break, commercial break. When we return, straight into the news. There is so much happening around here in Australia. But before we forget, to all the mums, all the wonderful mums that are involved in any way, shape or another at the various Croatian clubs, hope you all had a happy Mother's Day, and it is fitting that it is Female Football Week, hey?
Fantastic. Happy Mother's Day to them all.
Don't go away.
Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show, episode 16. and we've got so much to get through tonight. But before we get underway with any of the news and the wrap around the country and this great land of ours, taking a moment to reflect on a warrior gone. We're one warrior down today. Yesterday, Tonch, announcement of Frankie v. Simovic, who is an absolutely tremendous man around North Geelong Soccer Club. He epitomises the word volunteer, and it really is the fun in fundraising. I had the privilege of working with Frankie very closely, having been on the committee for several years and ran the club for a few years as well. He's a sort of friend, confidant, and clubman that exactly if you could put a potion together and roll them out of a factory, this is what you want. You want a man like Frankie, or a person like Frankie, I should say. He'd never let you down. He'd always be the first person to put his hand up to help for anything that's going on, whether it be a shift on the bar, a shift on the gate, marshalling, going around knocking on doors at businesses, getting raffle prizes, selling the tickets for raffles, whatever it might be. Forever sending me, well, in my day when I was on the committee, he'd send me messages constantly about grants and how do we, things, little insights he'd pick up, because he worked at Gordon Tafe, a Geelong institution, for over 30 years that he worked there. He'd hear about these things and just go out there and say, "Yeah, Zilla, I got this, I got that. What do you reckon? What do we want to do about it?" Always in my ear. And even when he didn't agree with me, Tonch, there were moments there, as you know, when you're running a club, you got to make some tough decisions at times. And if you didn't like what he heard or saw, he'd tell me to my face, and that's what I appreciated about Frankie. And he didn't have to agree, and you don't have to agree with everybody in life, but you can have that respect for one another. And I thank God that 2 weeks ago, he gave me a call, and he just talked, and he talked about everything that we've been through at the club together as mates and as servants to the community. And he signed off, and he just said, "Thank you for being my friend." And I feel rewarded for that.
Yeah, there are people like that at every club. And last week we also had the death notice of Joe Sigwood, the legendary ex-president at Melbourne Knights, and people like Joe, people like Frankie. They are just the salt of the earth people. And if you've ever gone to Elko Park, you would have known Frankie. He was sort of I guess he was kind of like the skinny, weak-looking bloke, but geez, he was a strong personality. He had a heart of gold. He was always either at the gate or he was selling raffle tickets, and he was always, running around doing absolutely everything that needed to be done.
If there was a junior team without a coach, there you go. Frankie would rock up and he'll take the reins. Yeah, that's the sort of guy he was.
Now, a little known fact about Frankie: he actually represented, I think, Australia in the World Transplant Games as well.
Yes. A big advocate for transplant donation, plus supporters, people who were suffering through waiting lists. He himself a recipient of kidneys, and his brother Domagoj as well, who passed away a few years back. And look, we as a community are lesser for having lost Frankie, but we're richer for having known him. You can't put words together to summate my feeling and our feeling towards Frankie.
No, may he rest in peace. And on behalf of everyone here at the Oz Cro Soccer Show, to everyone involved at North Geelong Warriors, and indeed to the Simovic family and the extended Simovic family, which is an icon down at Elko Park, our deepest condolences. May rest in peace. But I guess he's somewhere up there looking down at us, and he's really, really happy, really proud, really excited with the direction that North Geelong is going on the field, both as far as their senior men's and senior women's team. So, Joe, Josip, let's continue with the news on a more positive note. In the background, we've got a little bit of video footage of North Geelong men's seniors team. They've gone to the top of the ladder. The only Croatian-backed team in Victoria to win on the weekend, which is unfortunate, or fortunate for North Geelong, but unfortunate for everyone else. Tell us more what happened on the actual park this weekend.
Look, they faced a fellow contender for promotion in Pascoe Vale, and we always know that the battles with Pascoe Vale are a tight affair. But they were solid in their defence. They were organised and structured from all reports. They got themselves a 2-0 win, a goal to young up-and-coming player George Ellis. Now, George Ellis is a revelation this year. He's scored 4 goals, all from set pieces with the head. And he's a young man that's come through the junior ranks and affectionately known around the club as Yoda, even by his dad Scott. So you know how entrenched you are within the community when your Anglo father is calling you a Croatian name. So,
Yeah.
but all jokes aside, he came through the ranks, and during Kuti's time, he was plucked out of the juniors into the senior ranks, and he has just gone from strength to strength. So well done, Yoda. And it was a good lesson in Georgia's story, plus in what North's doing there, is for the youngsters is be patient, follow your coach's instructions, continue to work at your skills and your attitude, and you'll get your crack through there. Look, coming up this week, they've got Kingston, which is a tricky affair to go to away. So we wish them all the best. But over with the women's side of things there, mate, the women went away to Keilor Park and got themselves, at home against Keilor Park and won 2-1 on the weekend, and now sit in 5th position. So they're nicely placed, and we'll have Bandura come visit them on the weekend at 3 o'clock at Alco Park on Sunday. So there's a good chance for them to jump a little bit further up the ladder.
Very good. Very, very winnable game. The women who have jumped 2 divisions up from State 3 last year to State 1 this year, a phenomenal story that they're more than competitive in State 1, so it's great to see. I think we've got the Melbourne Knights women in VPLW, North Geelong in State 1, St Albans Dynamo have had to drop down to State 2, but they're doing really well, and we'll hear a bit more about them. But mate, that's great to hear. The women are really going places, and once upon a time, Josipe, if you were a girl at a Croatian soccer club, you were told your only place was in the kitchen, and now the clubs are so positive, and they're so supportive of women's presence in at these clubs.
And it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see. My own mother-in-law used to say to my daughter when she gave netball the flick, "Yes, Jazzy Tony is za tebe." But look, she's proven differently. She's out there playing with the North senior women. So good on you, Jazzy.
Absolutely proud dad moment there.
Yeah.
Moving along, mate.
On to Strathmore women. They're sitting in 7th position. They unfortunately had a 4-1 loss to Greenvale. They got their challenge ahead of them this week with Latrobe Uni, and we know the Uni teams, doesn't matter what league they're in, they're always pesky buggers, the Uni teams. So good luck to Strathmore. Their men remain at the bottom of the ladder in search of a much-needed win, and losing to league favourites Springbank Stallions 3-0, who tonight are taking on Moreland City. An interesting contest ensues on Saturday with Croatia coming to Strathnaver Reserve. So we want the Split Shunny to get really fired up for this one, because Croatia are coming off a win, their first win against Essendon Royals. So let's see the Split Shunny get up on top of them. Vuka had a bye in Vic Soccer League, but NK Bunker had a 3-0 win over Oromia. Over in St Albans, the women, as we can see on screen there, a thumping 14-1 smashing of Port Melbourne, and propelled themselves to 5th spot on the ladder, and now have the tough task of heading out to North Geelong way. He's out to Lara on Sunday, and Lara's a formidable opponent to go up against.
Sitting on top of the State 2 ladder, Lara United is, in fact.
Yeah. And the men, unfortunately, had a night to forget. They went down 5-2 to Oakley last weekend. Sitting in 8th spots, the Saints, they'll have their task ahead of them against Altona Magic at home this week. But it's going to be a busy week over there at Churchill Reserve, with Gorsuch hosting a Croatian derby as well. But look, the Saints at home are always going to be a tough ask, and Magic got a bit of confidence, so this will be a real spicy one, I think. Over to Melbourne Knights, mate, the women's team. They had a 5-0 loss to perennial frontrunners Eltham Redbacks. The 8th place Knights now head over to Southern United for the big long road trip out to the Mornington Peninsula. This shapes up as an even contest, and a chance for Melbourne Knights to jump to 6th spot if they can get the 3 points.
Yeah. Now, it's only early days yet, Yossi, but I'm told in VPLW, the top 4 teams will be moving on to NPLW next year in the newly expanded competition.
Okay.
So, I was told that during the week. And as I said, it's still early days yet, but come on, Melbourne Knights girls. We want you to really, really start picking up the points. And against Southern United, here's a great opportunity.
Great opportunity.
The carrot at the end of the stick, obviously at the end of the year, is one of 4 spots to move to NPLW. And wouldn't that be absolutely fantastic for the Knights to be an NPL super club next year? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, look at Canberra, Croatia, right? They're going from strength to strength. So it's a fantastic opportunity, and I know a club like Melbourne Knights would embrace that from both ends, right? So great. So their men, though, they had a 1-0 loss to a resurgent Magic, as we mentioned just a little bit before. They're now in 10th spot, and all right, they're not really sitting on relegation's door, but the form just doesn't seem to be sticking at the moment. And this Friday night, with Port Melbourne coming over to Summer Street, Melbourne Knights fans, get out there, get in early, book your dinners at the Croatia Social Club, Melbourne Croatia Social Club, and head on over and support the guys to get their 3 points and push themselves into the top 6 fray. Dandy City, mate. Dandy City women's team.
City. Yeah.
They had a weird result. They had like an indoor soccer result. They played Latrobe United and went down 8-4. Like, I haven't heard a score like that before. It's a bizarre result, but nonetheless, I know the girls are a fighting unit, and they're going to go on and now face Monash City Villarreal. What a name for a club, Monash City Villarreal.
I think they've got some sort of a link with the Villarreal Academy. I know I did a coaching course with the chap from there, and he kind of explained it to me, but it sort of went overhead. And now that you've sort of brought it up, it's sort of like this little bit of trivia has come back. But I reckon there was some sort of a connection. Mate, down here in Melbourne, I don't know what it's like up in Queensland. There are academies popping up left, right, and centre, and they're all either private schools or privately owned schools or what you're not. But a lot of them are just tagging that little academy on the end of it.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure how quality it is, but it is. Speaking of Dandenong City, St Albans Dynamo is another one. They've got their own little academies in place, club-run, club-affiliated academies, and it is great to see. Absolutely fantastic. And we talked about, here's another little bit of tidbit information that I found out just earlier today. One of the schools down in Geelong, Western Heights College, it's a secondary college.
Yeah.
They are starting a soccer program next year, very similar to what Keilor Downs College, and we had Josip Launchevich from Keilor Downs on. And another Josip is going to be running it, none other than Joey Didlitz, Croatian International. So great to see. The industry of football is really starting to expand, in all sorts of ways. Maybe some of it's great, maybe some of it's not so great, but there's a real appetite now for offering all sorts of different type of offerings.
I just like to see our community broadening the horizon and making a greater reach than sort of keeping it. Nothing wrong with working within the clubs and helping out. That's a much required resource. But when you start reaching out and a bit broader, you're actually creating a bigger advertising board for the institution you've been representing, and that's really important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing, I suppose, up in Queensland, very similar to what's happening down here. The Magic Group behind Gold Coast Knights, they've got all these little programs and all these little offerings, and they're seeming to expand to other clubs and areas, and it's great to see. At the end of the day, that brand name, the Kotskitzer there, or the red, white, and blue is really becoming very, very synonymous and very, I guess, is synonymous with sporting excellence in the football field, I suppose. So it's good to know. Good. Let's get back to the news. What's going else?
Melbourne Knights. We talked about the Melbourne Knights, haven't we? Yes, Gorspish Bears. They've got the derby on this week. They're taking on Strathmore in the Metro Comp. So their Metro Comp seniors are sitting for 6th spot. They had a 2-1 loss against Newport in the last round, and their Masters had a 5-1 win against West Point. And their Masters sitting in 7th spot. So it'll be a nice affair over at St Albans, who are taking on Magic. They'll have Gorspish over there with their 2 teams playing away. So it'll have a nice atmosphere over at Churchill on Sunday. So get out there and support the Bears and the Saints.
1:30 p.m. Big Crow Derby. They're saying Ivica Petrlic from the Gorspic Bears, Maxi Sentic, the Bears coach as well. They're pumped up against the Strathmore Split Metro team. Should be an absolute classic game. And at the end of the day, there's going to be Rakia shots. There's going to be Chavape. There's going to be Karlovac.
No, really?
I don't know. I just thought I'll throw that one in. I'm sure it is going to be an event and possibly, the start of many to come. So we look forward to that, and we look forward to both those teams doing well. They've been featured on the program in the past, so we certainly wish them all the best for Sunday.
Absolutely.
Awesome day of football down at Churchill Reserve.
Good stuff. Right, yeah, let's fly over to the Upper Isle, Tonch. Glenorchy women's team, they had a 3-1 win over Kingborough last round, putting them into third spot now in their Southern Championship. And the pick-up in form sees them take on middle of the table Hobart Beachside. So they could actually stop spots and climb the list a little bit further now. So good on them. Their men had the quarterfinals of the Lakosiliats Cup, and which forms part of the Australia Cup fold-in. Yeah. They had a 4-2 loss to Devonport Strikers, so they're out. So well done on getting to the quarters, but their focus turns to taking on second place Kingborough this weekend for a chance to swap positions with them.
Yeah.
Over in SA, Adelaide Croatia women's team, they had a good win over Adelaide Uni, now sitting in 7th spot, ahead of the weekend's clash to 6th spot Modbury. So there's another one where they can try and swap positions on the ladder.
Yep, go guys.
The Adelaide Croatia men's, they didn't have a match last week because it was a cup round in SA, but all freshened up and they're ready to take on last placed Adelaide University. So with a win, they could jump to 3rd. And they also have a last man standing type ticket reverse raffle situation going on at the club this week for that match. So buy your tickets and support the club. $100 a ticket and your chance to win $5,000. So get on board and support them.
We did have a graphic for that, but I seem to have misplaced it. So my apologies.
That's all right.
It's all on the Adelaide Raiders Croatia Facebook page. All the details are there. Do jump on there.
Over in WA, mate.
Before we take a break, WA.
Guelph Croatia women. No match last week, so the last place Guelph will go to Uni WA, looking to turn their fortunes around this week. The men sitting in second last continue to have trouble finding form in the MPL over there in WA, but they went down to Stirling Macedonia 1-0. This week their attention turns to 9th spot Armidale. So it looks like an opponent. They probably have got better credentials to try and pinch some points off, so good luck to Guelph Croatia there. Western Knights sitting in second spot, equal points with Olympic, but with a goal difference, but have a game in hand. This week take on Fremantle City after their 2-0 win over Olympic, and those promising signs continue at Nashfield.
We've got a lot. We've covered a lot, and still a lot more to be covered. We're going to take a very, very short break, viewers. When we return back, we're going to do part 2 of the local coverage, and then we've got our 2 big guests going to join us a little later on in the show. Eugene BRCIC Jones. Hopefully we're going to get him live and direct from Zagreb. And we're also then going to be speaking with Sydney FC young gun Adrian Segacich a little later on in the show. It's the Oz Cro Soccer Show, and it is episode 16. Don't go away, folks.
Are you one of those people that just pays their business insurance each year? Insurance is the last thing we want to worry about when running our business day to day, unless there is a claim that needs to be made, right? And once we have our insurance in place, we just keep renewing it. We just find it too hard to shop around. Does that sound like you? Well, at Your Business Insurance, we could save you money and get you a better deal. We'll review your current insurance and determine if you're getting the most favourable offers from the insurance market. Call Your Business Insurance on 1300 767 456.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It is the Oz Cro Soccer Show indeed. Josip, let's go on to part 2 of the local content, coverage.
Well. What a result we're going to see here, mate. New South Wales, Newcastle, Croatia. Just a lazy 10-0 win, mate. 7 goals to young McGuinness, who crossed over from MPL side Cardiff during the off-season. But look, the club's going from strength to strength. They've got teams sitting in top sections of all their ladders in different competitions. So for them, they're facing Cardiff at home this week, and their all-age team won 1-0 last night as well. So they're good form all round for the club there. We go over to Hurstville Zagreb. Their women's team, they've got 2 women's teams, one in 17 to 21 A's and a B's. The women's A's sit in 3rd spot. They had a 1-0 win over Oatley, and on Friday take on Sans Souci. They're 4th, and in the B team is sitting 4th, who take on Rockdale this weekend. The men's team keep doing their business. 1-0 win over Fraser Park, and they head home to face the PNFC to keep up their pressure on top spot, and we're getting all tongue tied here, mate. You're humming in the microphone and my tongue tied. They're trying to put pressure on the top spot from 2nd position. So good luck to the Hurstville guys. Sydney United unfortunately had another loss, this time around 1-0 to Manly, dropping to 9th spot now. So that section of form is just not working out for them at the moment. They did put in Miro Vlastelica in charge during the week, and they will be looking to turn their form around against high-flying RPO on Sunday. Look, there's a bit of work there to do. Get their confidence back up is probably the first and foremost. I guess a 1-0 loss could be looked as maybe a change in form because of the losses that they were bleeding before in 5s and 6s coming through. And let's hope that focus is sharpened up for this weekend's round. They got ahead of the weekend's clash. They got to take on Quakers Hill tomorrow night in the Cup. So we wish them well for their Cup venture. South Coast United finally Tonchi a match at South Coast United.
After all the rain we've had in recent weeks, so we talk about the rain up in Queensland, but geez, South Coast there they've had all sorts of really, really bad weather. It's the tropics, mate. It's getting further and further down south. That's what the case is. Yeah.
Yep, that's for sure. But anyway, a 2-2 draw at Bellambi in their first point of the season, and this week they go to the bottom place United, go to face off 2nd place Tarrawanna. So you've gone and played someone that's close to you on the ladder. Now you've got to go play top at the other end. So good luck to South Coast United, and hopefully you haven't got any more washouts so you can get on with your league. Over in ACT, Canberra Croatia women, the powerhouse that they are, won 3-1 over Belconnen, and the table-topping Croatia take on 3rd place West Canberra. The table-topping men also had a solid 2-0 win over Belconnen, and now it's time for the much-awaited derby against O'Connor Knights.
Oh, geez, I love hearing that word, table-topping, and it involving a Croatian club. But this one, look at that. There's the ladder, by the way. This one, the one we've all been waiting for, the ACT NPL. Well, actually, what are they calling it? Capital Football NPL Croatian derby. Long overdue. Yeah. Cannot wait for this one.
Yeah. So the 4th place O'Connor Knights will be going there full of steam as well. They had a 3-2 win, so this will be an absolute cracker. I'm going to tune into this one on the NPL TV app. But the O'Connor Knights women, they had a strong performance too, a 7-3 win over Majura Football Club, and this week take on ANU. Tonchi, that is the nation's wrap.
Did we look at Gold Coast and up there, Brisbane?
We did. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Over there. Sorry. How did I miss that one, mate?
I do not know your home state. You're going to get lynched if that happens. But anyway, mate, Brisbane, Croatia, very
Brisbane,
important.
Croatia,
Once
the
again,
Knights women. The women 2-0 win over Tarragindi. How could I forget that one?
Best you come back to Victoria, mate, as soon as possible. Flee the state.
They're doing a great job at Brisbane Knights with the women's team. They're sitting on top of the ladder ahead of their clash against 5th place Lions. Queensland Lions, if you don't know, Tonch, they're a formidable outfit over here in Queensland's football leagues all throughout NPL and state leagues and whatnot. So big challenge there for the women to continue their form. So well done, Brisbane, Croatia. The 6th place men, they take on 3rd place North Pine, and after a confidence-boosting 2-1 win against Ipswich Bulls last Friday. The Gold Coast Knights, though, I'm not sure if we'll get a game out of them this week because of this weather over here, but they had an absolute tight affair against Gold Coast United in the Gold Coast Derby over here in the NPL. It was a good affair, good clash. A lot of tough tackling going on. Send off to Pasquale de Vita. Trying conditions. Started bucketing rain after about the 65th, 70th minute. But look, they had a midweek game against Logan as well. A win 4-0, a 1-0 win on the weekend, pushes them back into that third position, and they're going to be facing a second-placed Olympic if the games do go ahead this Saturday.
Well, hopefully they will. And if they don't, at the end of the day, Saturday afternoon, 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, that NPL TV app, which is absolutely brilliant, powered by Clutch. Yep. That'd be a game worth watching. The Canberra Derby, Canberra, Croatia taking on O'Connor Knights.
Just a quick update, Tonch. O'Connor Knights have finished their Australia Cup match tonight and won 4-1 over Queanbeyan.
Well done, Queanbeyan.
Thank you, Marinko Markovic, for that update.
Oh, fantastic. So they are through. And after last year, when we only had the Gold Coast Knights, the only Croatian-backed club making it through to the final 32, we've got a lot of Croatian clubs all around Australia still in it. And Guelph, Croatia taking on Western Knights. I think that is next Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, or thereabouts. That should be an absolute corker. It won't be happening around about the time that we're on air because of obviously time differences. But maybe we'll be able to get someone from the ground or someone from the field in next week's show leading up to the actual game.
That should lean on Pecco. Have to lean on Pecco.
Yeah. Alan, good old Alan over there. A big cheerio to Alan Petzeltich and the crew out there at Western Knights. Josipe, we've got our international guest coming up very, very shortly after this break. So, folks, don't go away. We're going to take a very, very short break. When we return, we've got our special Croatian correspondent all the way from Zagreb, live from Zagreb, on the ground, Eugene Brcic Jones, and he'll tell us what the feeling is like in Croatia with one of the most climactic finishes to the Hrvatska Nogometna Liga in, well, not years, in decades. Let's call it that. Don't go away, folks. It's the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Yes, the Football Outwear Show, one of the sister programs of the Oz Cro Soccer Show, on every Sunday night at 7 p.m. with Craig Filer, Steve Curtin, and myself. Excellent stuff that. Boy, what a great show we've had so far, and it's going to get even better, Josipe, because joining us all the way, beauty of technology, all the way from Zagreb, our very, very special guest, Eugene Brcic Jones. Euge, mate, you don't look like you've aged one bit since you left the shores of Australia bound for Croatia. How are you, mate? Good to see you.
I'm good. How are you, gentlemen? Happy days.
Very good, mate. Very good. Huge. Now, look, we've known each other for a long, long time, and in fact, we go back to I think the 2006 World Cup in Germany when we were stationed at Croatia's World Cup headquarters there. But mate, you've been a journalist. You've been used to write for the old Clocker magazine, I believe, back in the day. That's going back a while, isn't it?
Oh, what's that? 30-something years ago.
Oh, let's not talk about our age, yeah. But mate, how does a former Sydneyite or Sydneysider end up living in Croatia? And tell us a little bit about your journey over the last couple of decades that's seen you now call Croatia home.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the intro, buddy. And the reminder of things that, I've forgotten. Dredging that old acorn. I moved to Croatia in 91 originally. So back, I was 19 years old, probably even 18, almost 19. Probably important to mention that I did return back to Australia in 2010. And had another 7-year stint in Sydney. where I found my wife, got married, little kiddies, two little girls. Shout out to Eden and Emerson, and then after 7 years, returned back to Croatia. So I had the itch again, 7 year itch, and we've been back now 5 years. To this, it's almost to this date 5 years since we've been back, or I've been back.
And what is life in Croatia? Generally speaking, we get to hear a little bit of the stuff on social media and satellite television, but really life on the ground. What's it like living in Zagreb at the moment?
I think that it's shrouded in mystery. Really, there is an idealistic picture in Australia among Croats, especially us second generation Croats. Often back in the day, people would go on holidays to Croatia, and they'd go to the villages of where their parents are from. Like, not many of our parents were like city folk, right? That were city slickers, engineers and doctors and lawyers or whatnot in Zagreb or capital, the capital, or in Split. Most of our parents were hard yakka sort of workers, economic immigrants, lived in villages. And so when we'd go and visit, we'd spend a lot of time with relatives, and that's a sort of distorted picture of Croatia. And a lot of people get disillusioned, like the older people who come back, and things have changed even in those villages, right? Whereas we live in a time warp in Australia, and we idealize that romantic picture. But nowadays, people are spending more time when they come on holidays in Zagreb, actually, which didn't happen before. People would just, be in transit. And they spend more time in the bigger cities, right, and the resorts and things like that. So then they get the real European feel of Croatia rather than the old rural type of Croatia. That, I think, is the most important difference to previously and now. And living in Croatia now, I mean, straight after this, I'm going to play golf, right? So people don't think of Croatia as a place you could go and play golf or do things that you do in Australia, right? Because it's such a developed country and stuff. But yeah, the contingent is growing, and what's growing even faster is the expat community. So you have so many people from the UK and the US, no connections to Croatia whatsoever. And they're like often digital nomads, right? Or so they can work remotely. But then a lot of them are also very specialists in various fields, and so the language is not such a barrier. So they're able to transplant themselves into Croatia and live a rather sophisticated Western life. And that I would say is my experience, and the experience of a lot of the most recent arrivals to Zagreb in particular from the Croatian community, is that the lifestyle is not, let's say, as backward as it used to be. It's quite advanced, and it's not much different now. I would say it's much better, at least for me, in terms of quality, in terms of lifestyle and all that. It's better.
Josip,
I hope I haven't really rambled too much, but that's my impression.
Josip, we're noticing since we've started this little cape of the Oz Cro Soccer Show, we've been speaking to a lot of young guys, footballers, Australian Croatian footballers, and some that are third generation that are now actually bypassing the A-League and finding better opportunities in Croatia. Let's turn our attention to the soccer side of things. One of our guests, in fact, later on, has even had an opportunity to play for Croatia at a junior level. So we'll find out a little bit more about that. But speaking of the Croatian League, Huge, I mean, the HNL, Prva Hrvatska Nogometna Liga, we're seeing there is a bit of a Croatian connection there as well, and we'll see some highlights very, very shortly. But a former Sydney player, Anthony Karlik, who's doing very well at Gorica, and there's a couple of goals, and there's a goal coming up there. But tell us, mate, what's the feeling now surrounding the Hrvatska Nogometna Liga? Is it starting to become a lot more commercially attractive? Is it becoming a lot more, focal in the local media? Are Croatians actually starting to really get into the Hrvatska Nogometna Liga, and not just the Liga Petice, as they say? There's Karlik now.
Oh, look, I'd say that the Croatian audience is not as fickle and prone to these waves that you'd probably have in Australia. looking back, I remember Australia having these various waves or trends where soccer would become popular, and then they'd have the NSL going to the A League, and then there's a bit of a revival, and then one of the Wanderers would make it to the Asian Cups and things like that, and the Aussie team would probably do well, and so that it would fluctuate a lot. Whereas we're living in Europe, so we're actually saturated by so much football, right? We don't have to wake up in the mornings and the crazy hours to watch a great match. I'm I have a standard TV channels, and I mean, I think there's about 6 or 7 constant football channels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's all leagues around the world. We even have Australian matches, right? And so every now and then.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
What is it?
I got myself Crow TV. Well, first
Yeah,
of all, I sampled it for my in-laws, and then I set them up, and then I thought I'll just get it for myself as well. And I'm scanning through the channels, and I'm going, hang on a minute, they're doing a better job of putting the A League on than Channel 10 does.
Isn't that sad?
The Croatian guys are commenting, right? And so they're commenting about, they're trying to say these players that are, they're not even Australian names, right? They're a lot of European or Middle Eastern sort of names, Asian names, and these guys are trying their best. But it sounds like they're well informed. They understand the players, so they probably do a bit of background reading. And it's a job after all, as a journalist to do a bit of background. And I must, say that you guys, you got to forgive me because I haven't been in the game so deep. As I said, it's around me, so I'm familiar, and I could probably dredge up some random facts and about what's going on. But it's not as intense. As a soccer fan, somebody who loves football, you can't live fully as a tifos or whatever they call it, a fan, because it's so pervasive. It's all around, and this season is a really great season with so many clubs vying for the top. So you'd imagine that there'd be increased I guess focus now, but I'd say it's same as usual, right? Most people would know what's going on. And most people love football. It's a popular sport, the most popular sport as it is in the rest of Europe or the rest of the world, more or less. So the fact that it is very tight, I can't say that I've noticed any increase or any exceptionally different type of experience.
Like that,
Yeah,
I was going to ask you about maybe the pub test or the kafić test, as it would be in Croatia. If you sit down and order a coffee, is it a humming story in the background that you hear a couple of oldies, conversing about who might take the title out or things like that?
You know what the thing is because they're very partisan, right? So if you're down south, and then you're obviously a Hajduk supporter, right? And if you're, in Zagreb might have a little bit of, newcomers who might come from a different part, and so they maintain their loyalties. But it's very regional. So you're from Slavonia, you're a big Osijek fan, so you wouldn't really have that much of a, everybody's they're too biased to be able to have a sort of conversation. I don't know, is Rijeka going to be, is it Osijek, is it going to be Hajduk? So it would be very one-sided, right? And so there's not much they can really say to each other in terms of getting a sort of volatile conversation.
Get two Croatians together. I'm sure there's a way that they'll find a way to argue. Always is.
That's just a conversation, isn't it?
Shocking. Well, it's shocking to me because I haven't noticed much conversation between opposing supporters. It can get very violent, So it's quite shocking because as a person from diaspora, it's shocking to see these guys going at each other as if it's a war, right? As if they're, let's say the Croatians versus the Serbs or something. But it's that rabid sometimes. So
would you say it's hatred?
Yeah. I would say.
And is that
Well,
we know the rivalry between particularly the Bad Blue Boys and Torcida and the North and South, when it comes to things like sport. But is that something that permeates into other elements of society? I mean, is it safe, for example, for a Zagreb person to go down south with Zagreb number plates, or vice versa, with a split person to come to Zagreb for the weekend with split number plates? Is it like a lot more sinister than just sporting rivalry?
Yeah. Look, man, I've had my car with Zagreb plates when I used to go and watch Hajduk back in the day. The car would be damaged and things like that. It's strongly advised, and people know that it's a sort of street smart that you wouldn't really drive in from Split and park your car anywhere in the east of Zagreb near the Maksimir Stadium. Right? You wouldn't go with your Zagreb number plates anywhere close to Poljud during a derby, right? And these are things that people know because I remember often going to the stadium, and on the way you'll see some car devastated completely, smashed windows, tipped over, things like that. And he said, "Oh well, look, it's got split number plates, right?" So some probably old pensioner or whatever, not knowing there's a football match coming up on that date. I mean, I think that this is prevalent in all of Europe, right? It's very aggressive.
It's tribalism.
You could call it hooligans if you like, but it's a way of life really here. It's not something. So you wouldn't have this discussion as a crisis or a hot topic on a show or the news. Oh wow, look at this tense rivalry and violence. It's just something that's accepted and it happens, and it's throughout the whole year. So it's not news in a sense, right?
Now let's turn our attention to what is happening. So we've seen the Prva Liga. So if we look at the ladder, 2 rounds to go. Dinamo at the moment on 73 points. Hajduk in second spot. Now the two meet in the final game at Maksimir. So make sure if you're from Split, you don't take any car with the Split number plates when you go to this. So this weekend, huge round of fixtures. Hajduk taking on Istra at home, must-win game. But the big one, all eyes will be on, is Monday morning, early Monday morning, our time here in Australia, 3 o'clock. Šibenik taking on Dinamo Zagreb. Now, the interesting thing about this is the Šibenik fans hate Hajduk Split with a vengeance. So it's almost like two bratski klubovi coming up against each other. But the coach of Šibenik is a former Hajduk legend, and also was the assistant coach of the Melbourne Knights a few years back. When Aljoša Asanovic was the coach, Dejan Računica. Now, that's going to be quite interesting, Huge. Your take on the penultimate round of the HNL?
Yeah, well, that Šibenik Dinamo, that's a crackerjack. That can render the last match a total moot point, right? Yeah. So Dinamo can win it there. There is that rivalry between Šibenik and Hajduk, absolutely. I mean, that dates back. But, from what I've been hearing, there's going to be so many fans, Torcida rocking up to Šibenik. And deep down, the Šibenčani, even though there's been players crossing over to Dinamo and stuff like that from Šibenik, and they've been sort of friendly club to an extent. But I would say that the rank and file Šibenčani and stuff like that the Hajduk is still, their heart still thumps to the Torcida tune, right? Dinamo is like, it's like back in the day, the Sydney City's Hakwa, like the Jews, right, with all their money and all the John Kosminas and all that. They could buy all the best players, and you felt like the referee had some sort of protection from referees or favoritism, and that's how Dinamo is looked at here, right? And in all fairness, Dinamo in the last couple of years has just simply been absolutely dominant. But previous to that, you could notice that favoritism that Dinamo was getting. Now I think they're just such a great club in terms of their organisation and their youth programs and their results show that, right? So I don't think that they need the help of the system anymore. But there's still that the remnants of that favoritism, and so that people in Šibenik would lean emotionally and sentimentally to Hajduk. And you know what? And I think that everybody involved in soccer would love to see this last game be the decider.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't that be absolutely fantastic for Croatian football in general? Mate, the Druga Liga, very, very quickly now. The interesting one here is that only one team can the top team can get in. Varaždin are at the moment 2 points ahead of Rudeš Zagreb. Now, Rudeš, we've heard, has got a little bit of an Australian-Croatian connection. Tony Popovic's sons are there. Aussie Joe Šimunic is also unofficially involved with Rudeš. And Josip, is there any other connection there with Rudeš? I think there may well be, is there?
We had Marko Bulic there for a few months.
That's right.
So, yeah.
He was there. So the Druga Liga, that is really exciting. We've only got a few more rounds, 3 more rounds to go, in fact. And this weekend, Varaždin take on Sesvete in Zagreb, on the outskirts of Zagreb. And then we've got Rudeš, who are away to Jarun. And that is a big Zagreb derby, if you like. Is there much coverage given to the Druga Liga? I mean, it looks just as fascinating as the Prva Liga, but obviously the crowds and glamour isn't there. But is there much coverage given in at least to say the Zagreb daily press to the Druga Liga?
Yeah, this is where I'd say that the separation occurs. So on a general level, with even the mums and dads and grandparents and whatever, most people would have an idea of what's going on with the HNL, yeah? Whether they like football or not. Yeah. Whereas with the HNL, that's where you get the people who are really the big fans of the game, right? A friend of mine also just recently returned to Croatia. He's a massive fan of Cibalia, so he just keeps going out to see their matches. And I said, "Oh, look, mate, you want to go on this show? You're a much bigger fan. You're just fresh." So he's going to all the matches and travels and stuff like that. He's really into it. But he's a massive Cibalia fan. He goes, "Oh, mate, say something about Cibalia. My club's got to survive, right?" And I see they're down.
Yeah, we've been pumping them up on the show.
We have indeed. Good old Cibalia.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Rudeš had did really well when they had Bišćan as coach. So I have to admit that I haven't been following that so much the second league, and the first league. It's pretty much everybody has an idea and of what's going on. The second leagues, it's the aficionados already, right?
Look, one thing that's been circulating in the news, and we pick up on it here, is the emphasis that Croatia makes in terms of its impact on the market as a country that has exports, players hitting the other leagues and being classified as per capita the strongest footballing nation in that sense.
Yeah. I think you guys had that guy Romeo. What was it? The guy he was involved in the Dinamo, the school.
Romeo Jozak?
Yeah.
We didn't have him on the show, but there is a quote or a comment that he has come up during the week, which is an interesting comment. And he talks about, and that's loosely translated from the original quote, Dinamo needs to do a clean out of the dressing room and recruit a group of players who will once again bite and go forwards. This current dressing room, in terms of its current emotional state, is going downwards, not results-wise, but emotionally speaking, which is not a good thing. Is he right? Like, in order to really improve your football, do you just have to, and get good challenges, do you just have to, you've got no choice but to go abroad, as Josip said, Croatia being such a fine exporter of talent? Is that the only way forward for young Croatian footballers to progress?
You look at it, it's just the way it is. It's a dream of a footballer to be any good, to be, and it's not necessary to go abroad, right? The guys who go abroad and they go into Liga Petica, for example. There's so many of them who are playing in clubs like in the Polish league, Czechs and whatnot, right? It's a life. That's like a job, right? There's not much difference to anybody going to university and then looking for a job and hoping to go abroad where there's more money. So these guys have a job. They'll play out to to the early 30s and hopefully have made some money to be able to to set themselves up for life. The ones who are shooting for the Liga Petica and the really big money, they've come through the schools. Dinamo has an unbelievable system that just a radar that goes even into Bosnia, right? And it's very hard for any talent to go unnoticed by Dinamo's school, and so the best will be end up either in Dinamo and maybe Hajduk, which they start to pick up their game a bit. But what Mamic did, obviously he's a crook, right? But what he did was he did set up that school that is treating football scientifically, right? So they and statistically and with big data. So they've cast this massive net. It's very hard for any mildly even talented player to go unnoticed, let alone the gems like the Modric's, right? And so Croatia's, because we love the game and we have a physical predisposition, right, for sports. And then once you have a predisposition and you have a strong, let's say, average of people with a certain skill set or a certain physical dimensions, once you have a system that locates these guys and then corrals them into a school or into some system, then they're like crops, mate. They grow. And so I don't see this this flow stopping, because I think that it's a great system. Now, so I think Croatia will remain there at the top. Do these players become hungry or lose like a team? We're talking about a team with Dinamo, but see, the Dinamo's created that system. They've just got players coming up, and so players like Petkovic, who might have lost his groove, who might have lost his bit of his spark. Like, you're going to be kicked out, bro. So nobody has time to try and make you bite and get you motivated and this and that. Mate, you're out the door, because there are these young kids who love the game. They've been given the opportunity to go through these ranks, right? And it's a conveyor belt. And so, mate, hats off to Dinamo for that. And so this is no surprise. It's interesting that Serbia is also pretty high above there, and I think that they were higher than us in terms of the per capita, in terms of the players, right? That are exports. But this is a brilliant export industry for Croatia. It's one of the strongest industries, really.
Absolutely, and certainly
export of players.
Yeah, one of the best ways of promoting the country, and everyone seems to know the famous checkers there worldwide. It's incredible. Huge. We're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we have got Adrian Segacich, Sydney FC youngster, in the green room, eager to come on. But mate, it's been great after all these years catching up with you. And you look like you're somewhere on the Jadran, not in Zagreb, with that pool in the back.
Plenty, mate. The weather's flooding up. So yeah, that's a run-of-the-mill thing to do, man. Get ready for the summer.
Yeah, we're all getting ready for the winter down under, but unfortunately, that's where we are at the moment, mate. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to maybe catching up with you down the track.
Thanks, fellas. Maybe see you guys in Qatar, huh?
Ooh, that would be good. Wouldn't that be good later this year?
You got a spare seat, or you got a spare room that's not worth $18K a night or something?
Yeah.
Geez, some Emirate friends or something. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to get someone to talk to Marmich. He can pull a few strings.
Yeah.
All right, Huge. On that note, good on you. Thanks very much, and all the best.
Good on you, boys.
Good on you, mate.
Good on you. Eugene Brcic, all the way direct from Zagreb. We're going to have a very, very quick break. When we return, guys, we're running late. We're going to be talking to one of the hottest young players in the A-League here in Australia. Sydney FC's Adrian Segacich, who has just penned a new 3-year deal. And we'll ask him about Croatian football because he's had a little bit of experience in that as well. Don't go away, folks. It's the Oz Cro Soccer Show, episode 16. And Josipe, time for our next guest.
Yes, let's bring on young Adrian Segacich, who's just recently signed a 3-year contract with Sydney FC. You got the shot up there. Welcome to the show, Adrian.
How are you?
Good.
Oh,
mate.
very, very good, mate. It's great to have you on the show. First of all, mate, congratulations. The new deal, penning the new deal, the 3-year extension. Your season has just finished a couple of nights ago up in Brisbane.
Last night.
How did you? Yeah, last night actually. God, this week has flown, hasn't it? How have you found the recently completed A-League campaign for you, mate?
Yeah, look, for me, it's been good. Obviously, as a 17 young player, being able to play in the A-League, it's obviously been good, and I've got my chances in the last few months, obviously in the Asian Champions League, and then 3 games in the A-League. So, yeah, it's been good for me, but obviously the team hasn't done the best, and you know everyone there expects better. So next season, hopefully, it'll be a better season. But for me, this was my breakthrough season, so it was a good season for me as an individual.
Good to see, mate. And I understand you've also had some experiences abroad in different countries. And tell us a little bit about your experiences both in Scotland and over in Croatia.
Yeah, look, when I was younger, obviously, I always went to Croatia just on holidays and just with the family here and there. And then one day, I just went for a train trial and with a few of the clubs over there, and then came back to Australia, and a few years later went back and had a few contacts there, and obviously then went and trained with Dinamo and Hajduk, and then from there I've been going there and back since I was pretty young.
Adrian, compare your experiences at the two. We just spoke to Eugene Brcic, a former journalist who now lives in Zagreb. But he was talking to us about the Croatian football scene there. But how did you find training at Dinamo and training at Hajduk, and what were some of the similarities and maybe some of the differences there?
To me, training at Dinamo and Hajduk were actually pretty similar. So obviously they both got the 2 best academies in Croatia. So obviously the players there are just as good, and obviously they're looking to break through into the first team as well. I'd say the similarities there are the players, obviously the quality and the way they train. Obviously, they're both living there. The kids, they've got good setups there. They've got good coaches and everything there to develop them as well. So I'd say the similarities would be their lifestyle, the way they train, and the players they got, and the coaching staff, and all the
Is it pretty full on to? Yeah, is it full on to what you experienced even say here in Australia, like the intensity, the just the desire to win, to win each ball. How would you compare that to what you'd experienced up until then?
Comparing it here to Australia, obviously, European football is different, so it's hard to compare to Australian football. But I would definitely say it's different. European football is just it's more, that's their whole life pretty much over there, and so they're all, every kid there's fighting for that one thing. Every kid in Europe wants to be a footballer. So, but I'd say in Aussie here now, the young over there, once you're in the academies and that, I would say it's a lot more professional here, because here you've only got Sydney FC, your Wanderers, whereas over there you've obviously got your Dinamo and Hajduk. So they're the two main ones that you'd basically want to be at a young age. So if I'm comparing those two, I definitely would say that they're the two most professional in Australia and Croatia. So they're the two top ones, I'd say.
Yep.
And that experience in Croatia, that led you to have some matches with the Croatian junior teams?
Yeah, so I was there in Medellin. We had the Croatian, I was under 16s there. We had a national camp there. The 18s were also there, so we were combined and we've had a match against the 18s, which the 16s actually won 1-0, so it was pretty interesting. So there, I was at a camp there for about a week and a half for us. Olic, Joe Simonic, and a few of the big boys are there as well, watching and coaching, so it was good.
Excellent.
How'd you go with the language, and how'd you go with the language, the communication? Did the players accept you, or did they sort of, look down upon you, clock on this, that, whatever, What were your experiences in the squad?
Yeah, I was lucky enough, to be fair, because when I've been training at Dinamo and Hajduk, so when I got there, I knew a few of the boys, so it was pretty good for me. Luckily, I knew, at least I'd say half the squad, so it was a bit easier on me. But yeah, they do love calling you a clock on, and they do give it to you because you're from Australia. But the boys took me in.
Did you have any language barrier issues yourself, or you understood it and speak enough?
Yeah, I'm pretty good here. So obviously my grandparents here all speak Croatian, so I can speak pretty fluently. So for me, it was all right. I got by.
Yeah,
excellent.
Now I understand a little connection got you to Rangers, mate. So give us a little bit of a background on that one.
Yeah, so obviously Michael Owen, my agent now, who obviously has got big contacts in England and then in Scotland. So I went there on a trial to a few clubs and then basically just moved from club to club, and I pretty set up 2 months where I spent 1 week at each club. So it was obviously Man City, Chelsea, Wolves, Leeds, and Rangers. So yeah, I think that was pretty much all of them. So then I spent 1 week at each club, and then
having Michael Owen as an agent isn't a bad gig. Did you get any good stories from him, or an opportunity to share for him to share any feedback for you?
Yeah, I got to go to his house, see his Ballon d'Or, so that was obviously massive.
Fantastic.
He's a very good guy.
I got to admit, I cheated. Your family friends, Jason Chulina showed me a photo of you holding the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was obviously good. So yeah, it was massive. It was obviously massive. He's a top guy. Obviously he's now doing the commentary for the Premier League at the halftime team talks, and so obviously he's watching games over there, and he's obviously giving me tips and what he's learned as a youngster as well. So some good advice from someone that's been through it all.
Adrian, sorry, just on the back of that, one thing I'd like to hear from you here now is we've heard you having to travel back and forth to Europe and back. A lot of sacrifice being made for you to give up your personal time, but your parents also, mate. They're sacrificing a lot of time to invest into you, right? Give us a little insight about, do you get a lot of time to do your sort of muck around down the shops or out with your mates, or is it really football primary focus? And if you can get a little bit of that, good luck.
Yeah, so for me, it's obviously been hard. Obviously, I've missed out on a lot of school. My dad's he's been lucky because he's got his own business, so he can move around pretty easily. And so I got lucky on that behalf, and obviously him for pushing everything and believing in me, and obviously taking me overseas multiple times. And I've obviously achieved something now, so it's good to see that all the belief and everything he's put in me has paid off a bit now. So about that life, I definitely say it's a lot harder now, especially me traveling from Brisbane to Adelaide to here to there. And when you get your 1 day off, like, you just want to relax at home and see your family a bit here and there. And so I don't really get to see my mates as much anymore, and they're all at school still, so.
And yourself, are you still studying at any level?
I'm trying. I finished school. I finished in year 11 now, obviously, because I'm training full time and traveling and national camps here and there. Obviously, I can't I can't do school. It's just too much for me. So I'm trying now to get something on the side, you know, in TAFE within
Correspondent.
coaching,
Yeah.
something football or sport related. So even some business or something just on the side, you know, that I can do part time with my soccer, and it's not too much for me.
Yeah,
So is
good.
that's a really good point you've just made there. You're 17, you've experienced academy life throughout Europe, you've come back to Australia, you've broken into the senior team, and at 17 you're already thinking about having, you know, something on the side there, whether it's a business, whether it's finishing school and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Is that something that, you know, maybe Michael Owen has told you, or some of the other peers, to have not a distraction, but have something on the side that can give you a little bit of downtime, that your focus isn't purely on the football, and to have maybe something there as, you know, once the career finishes? Is that something that other people have told you, or your mentors have told you to have in the back of your mind?
Yeah, obviously I've got a lot of people that have like helped me. Obviously Jason Chalina, Michael Owen, and obviously my dad's always been hard on me. He's always been tough, so he always makes sure that even if I'm not training, I'm out in the trucks working with him. So, so no, yeah. So obviously my mentors have obviously helped me and told me, you know,
Yeah.
you got to try fit things on the side for your future, because if you know, you never know where football can go if you get an injury or anything. So you've always got to have a backup. So something little on the side, or that just something, because as a footballer, obviously we got a lot of downtime. So something just to occupy yourself a little bit and just help you out in the future.
Well
Good
done,
stuff.
mate. Well done. 17, and you are speaking like a
Well,
27-year-old. You've got great
travelled,
maturity.
well travelled,
Well,
well
well,
spoken.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
look,
say travelling broadens the horizons,
yeah,
Josip, don't they?
absolutely. And look at the net. It's a fantastic network, and as Adrian alluded to there, with people that support him, he mentioned Jason Chulina and the Chulina family. I know he's close to the Segacich family, and when you have someone like Michael in your corner as well, you know, Adrian, well done. You've got the right support behind you, and it looks like, just looking at the enthusiasm you speak about your opportunities, it looks like you got that confidence because you know you're backed and someone's got your back all the time. So, to your family, I want to extend the congratulations out to your family for supporting you to get you to this stage. And now, really, the world's in your hands, and just go for it, mate. Really make the best effort out of it.
Yeah, they've done above and beyond for me, so it's
Good.
just my time now to, you know, let them relax a bit now that everything's been sorted, and just they can enjoy me playing now, watching me on TV.
Good. Yeah,
Well,
just keep going, mate.
mate. Well, enjoy the off season. It probably won't be much of an off season because no doubt the pre-season will start very, very shortly. But have you got any plans in the next few weeks before the campaign for the next A-League season kicks off?
So obviously, you know, the MPL side, I might, you know, maybe play a few games there and just get a bit more game time and keep my fitness levels up if I can, before the pre-season, and then maybe get 1 or 2 weeks off before pre-season starts just to relax my body and get ready for pre-season, and from there, you know, hopefully hit it off with the A-League and start playing the starting 11 every week and killing it. So
yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you on there. Yeah.
Good on you. Adrian, thank you very, very much for joining us. We wish you all the best. And Josip, I don't know about you, mate, but I'm impressed by this young man, how articulate,
Likewise.
well-spoken, and down-to-earth he is. So, mate, keep on doing what you're doing. It's great to see.
Good on you.
Nice. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Good on you, mate.
Good on you. Adrian Segacich from Sydney FC, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And I think
I love these little stories that we're unfolding throughout the year, mate. These young men, these young people that are looking to just broaden their horizons, take an experience that possibly they wouldn't have thought about doing a year or two ago. But you know what's really, you know, I know COVID has been such a downer on families and people, but I think it's fast-tracked people's mentality to say, bugger it, I'm going to go do it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. I think we can both speak from experience in many ways with regards to that. So that is good to see. Mate, we're going to take a very, very short break. When we do come back, we're going to wind up the show, but also we've got a little bit of footage of the unveiling of the Fairfield Showgrounds, which is going to be front and centre of this year's Australian Croatian Soccer Tournament. Don't go away, folks. We've got some great footage of a news news article or news report about that. So stay with us right to the very end.
Are you one of those people that just pays their business insurance each year? Insurance is the last thing we want to worry about when running our business day to day, unless there is a claim that needs to be made, right? And once we have our insurance in place, we just keep renewing it. We just find it too hard to shop around. Does that sound like you? Well, at Your Business Insurance, we could save you money and get you a better deal. We'll review your current insurance and determine if you're getting the most favourable offers from the insurance market. Call Your Business Insurance on 1300 767 456.
Well, tonight's show is nearly over, but Josip, last week we had Dinko Ledotic and Bela Blažević from the organising committee of the Croatian tournament. If you missed that, folks, go to our YouTube channel. You can watch the full replay of that interview. But during the week we had the unveiling of one of the centrepiece facilities that is going to be. Yeah. Let's have a little bit of a view of what went on.
An $11 million sports pavilion has been opened overlooking the Fairfield Showground. It features a 1,000-seat grandstand, change rooms and a canteen. The pavilion marks the latest stage of the Showground's $28 million redevelopment.
How good is that? And that's going to be the centre.
An $11 million sports pavilion.
Brunson, did I just hit the button again? I think I did out of excitement. I hit the button again. I wanted to see it a second.
Georgie Gardner does not. She's not reading the right script. She keeps saying showgrounds. Now we were told by Bella it's called the Crowgrounds.
Yeah.
I'm getting on the social media tonight, and I'm sending Georgie Gardner a message.
Yeah, good on her. No, good on you, mate. Actually, not on her. She said it the wrong way. That's something to really, really get yourself excited about. Come end of September, early October.
Like the team said last week, that was a harness track a year or two ago.
Yeah,
look at it now.
Amazing. Yeah. It's all just falling into pieces, all falling into places. That's the word. That's the word. We're so excited tonight. The words are just not coming out right. Is that right? Anyway, folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It has been an epic show. It has been a really good show, and we look forward to having your company again next week. All the very, very best. And thank you once again for joining us here on the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Laku noć, Josipe.
Laku noć, Tonč. Laku noć, viewers.
Good night, folks.